when we got the final proposal and the penalty enforcement came into view. And here's the quick summary. For any penalty that happens on the touchdown, that will be enforced on the try. You used to have your option between the try and the kick. That gets enforced on the try. And the concern is 4th and goal at the 5, open season on the quarterback, and the quarterback knows it because, okay, it's going to be half the distance on the try. So if you go for 2, you're going from the 1 instead of the 2. That doesn't really matter. And if you're going to kick from the 15, now you're kicking from the 7.5. Doesn't really matter, although maybe it does based upon the point I'm going to get to. Penalty on the try, and let's just focus on penalty on the defense. All that does is it moves the spot where the ball will be kicked in this new XFL configuration. All the other stuff, if we've got the graphic handy, the setup zone, the landing zone, where the kicking team's players are, the other 10, see them there all lined up at the 40? If you have a penalty on the defense on the try, the only thing that moves is the little brown football. So if it's a 5-yard penalty, you move it to the 40. Everybody else is still where they are, and the landing zone is still the goal line to the 20. Let's say you get a 15-yard penalty. You move it to the 50. You still have to drop the kick between the 20 and the goal line, and hang time doesn't matter because nothing happens until the receiving team's return specialist catches the ball, then everybody goes. So, and this was the point I raised with somebody at the league, and I was told last week that's probably going to get tweaked before we finalize it, and guess what? It was not. Was not tweaked. That's the rule. If there's a penalty on the defense during the try, we're just going to see that little brown dot move. 5 yards or 15 yards. Everybody else is the same. The play's the same. It's the same play. And my reaction was, well, why would you even accept it? You've got a kicker who has practiced kicking from the 35 and putting the ball wherever it's supposed to go in that 20-yard landing zone. Why are you going to make it shorter when these guys have the leg to do it? Or you're going to take something off of them. Now, you've been hitting the 3-wood all the time. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to swap it out for a 7-iron? No. So, what happens on the try now? And specifically, let's focus on the 1-point kick and what else precedes a kickoff. What other scoring play is there that results in a kickoff? The field goal. Okay, so it could be open season on kickers now. That's a potential unintended consequence. As these coaches are sitting around trying to brainstorm all the different ways they can use this new reality to their advantage. That is the Bill Belichick model. Any and all ideas, let's come up with them. How can we take the rules and use them to our own personal advantage to achieve the goal, the ultimate goal of scoring more points than the other team one game at a time? And I'm kind of sounding this out. I haven't written it yet at PFT. I just saw the email just before I got the text from Shireen about her current condition, which caused us to kind of focus on other things. But think this through with me. If you know that, and let's just focus on the PAT, because it becomes a little riskier with the field goal. But with the PAT, you send the guy around the edge. If he takes out the kicker accidentally after the kick is away, personal foul, roughing the kicker, 15 yards, assessed on the kickoff. You move the little You move the little brown dot 15 yards and nothing else changes. Nothing changes. There's no consequence. No consequence whatsoever unless you're going to do an onside kick, which happens very rarely now because you're going to have better field position if you somehow pull the needle out of the haystack and recover the onside kick. That's the only advantage. You just move that little dot to the 50 and everything else is the same. There is no downside whatsoever to sending your guys around the edge with the mission of hitting the kicker as hard as you can. Is it wrong? Yes. Is it a deliberate violation of the rules? Yes. Is it going to happen? I don't know. Trying to win games, aren't you? This is why I don't like the fact that they forced this thing through. See, whatever Roger wants, Roger gets. He wanted this through. I'm going to go through all sorts of things after the show today. Still not what Shireen's going through. Not yet, at least. They wanted this. They wanted it now. They don't want to wait until May. They want it now. And ostensibly the reason was, well, if we're going to have this new rule, we've got to sign players like Cordero Patterson, boom, lands in Pittsburgh within hours, literally, after they pass this thing. We got to get our draft boards reconfigured. We've been talking about that. All of a sudden, great return specialists are more valuable. The body type that you're looking for to put on that 10-man line, somebody who's going to shoot the gap and get to the return specialist before he finds an opening and he's gone because all 10 guys are in the same spot. They can't stagger. They're going to have to retreat. You got to run back and then refocus, and good luck with that when you're trying to chase Cordero Patterson or Tyreek Hill. We're talking about Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle back deep for the Miami Dolphins. So they wanted to get this through. They got it through. And now they're stuck with it for a year. Unless they tweak it in May. Unless they identify potentially significant unintended consequences. And maybe that's how they justified it. Let's just get this new kickoff through and we'll tinker with it later. Well, they better get their tinkering done in May because they don't like to change the rules once a season starts. You don't want to disrupt the integrity of the season. There have been issues in the past, and I wish I could remember exactly what they were, where there's something that they understand must change. But you can't change it now because you've already played games with that rule that we want to change. And there's been a game that's been affected by that rule, which is why we want to change it. But we've already had one game affected by it. We can't change the rules midstream. So whenever week 1 begins, and we know it will be Thursday night, September 5 in Kansas City, when they start with this new XFL kickoff, that's it. The roller coaster is out of the station. The ride has started, and it's not stopping until the Super Bowl. And the more I think about this, they're going to be counting on the goodwill of the coaches. And they may huff and puff if we have any reason to believe there's deliberate effort to injure the kicker, deliberate effort to violate the rules as it relates to roughing the kicker. But it's just as simple as we're going to go for the block more aggressively now. It's not we're trying to hurt the kicker. There's a line there. We're not trying to hurt the kicker. We're trying to get to the ball. We're trying to keep 1 point from going on the board. And if it gets in the kicker's head a little bit, maybe we don't have to block it. Maybe the kicker's too busy looking left and right at what's coming instead of looking at the spot where the ball just appears once the kicker begins his approach to the spot where he kicks it. And a similar concept applies with the field goal. The problem is, with the field goal, if you miss it, you get another shot. And I guess in theory that also applies with the PAT, but we see longer and longer field goals all the time now. Am I going to go all out on a 52-yard field goal when I know that if the guy makes it, it doesn't change the kickoff after the fact? If he misses it, he's going to get another try. But you know what? If you apply a clean legal hit to the kicker that happens to be a little bit too late and the kicker can't kick right away, oh, well, the 52-yarder became a 37-yarder, but the backup kicker can't make a 37-yarder. And extrapolate that to hitting the kicker legally and cleanly, but late after the PAT. Now you got to kick. Who's going to kick? Who else on the team can put the ball into the landing zone. Because if it's short, the other team gets it at the 40. You better get it right. If that ball hits anything before the 20, if it lands before the 20, if it bounces before the 20, the other team gets it at the 40. And if the guy puts too much on it and goes into the end zone, they get it at the 30. So this is why I thought it was too much to digest in 2 days of meetings. They send out the written proposals ahead of time every year. This was by far the longest, most complicated proposal I'd seen, and they're very proud of it, and I get it. They got some of the special teams coaches making the rounds, doing the shows. They want to get one of them on here, and that's fine. We may do it. And I'm definitely interested. I'm far more interested this morning than I was yesterday, because I want to ask, how do we account for this now? This very strong temptation to go, remember the old Elmer Fudd, Wabbit season, duck season, Wabbit season. It's kicker season. This season. This season is kicker season, unless they change the rule. And I don't know what they change it to, other than the penalty will be enforced after the kickoff. That the receiving team will lose 15 yards wherever the next drive begins. If it's going to begin at the 30, nope, it starts at the 15. 40, nope, it starts at the 25. But, if the receiving team returns it for a touchdown, what do? Do you take it off the board and put it on the 15? See, this is why. For an organization that has been so historically concerned with unintended consequences that they're paralyzed at times when it comes to a simple rule, this thing is rife with unintended consequences. I mean, this is just one that I thought of with a little nudge from a pretty smart viewer/reader who put the idea in my head, and it's like, you know what? That's a damn good idea. I wish I'd have thought of that. I didn't, but I ain't too proud to borrow it, steal it. I'm not stealing it, though, if I'm giving the person credit. Although I haven't given the person credit by name. I will. I don't have it in front of me. It's a lot harder to check the outline and see what else might be going on in the world of football when I'm the one that's doing all the talking. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.